got you down. All right, it's our first Facebook Live of the 2017 Ball State football season, and it is officially the 2017 Ball State football season. You know this guy, Mike Neu, joins us. Joel Godett, glad to have you with us for the next several minutes as we preview game week. How's that sound?
That sounds great. It's, you work so hard the off season with recruiting, then you get to spring practice, then you get to summer workouts, and then you get to training camp, and it's like finally it's Monday of game week. So it's exciting, all the hard work that you finally get an opportunity to see it pay off.
Now, we are on Facebook Live, so if you do have questions, feel free to interact with us. We can have the comments fed to us so we can relay those questions onto Mike and get your answers here as we go. So often, I feel like when you say to a coach, it's game week, you excited, they say yes, but at the same time, they're like, I still have so much work to do, I still need more time, and then the players are like, we just want to play yesterday. Where do you fall on that spectrum right now?
Well, certainly all those statements that you just made are true. You do have to find out about some of your young men. How are they going to respond when the lights get a little bit brighter? And as many people know, it's not a secret, we had a big signing class for us, with high hopes, a lot of expectations, and quite a few of those young men are going to play at Illinois. So I'm excited to see how they respond when the lights, like I said, just get a little bit brighter, and how do they handle themselves? When you get out there on game day, it's hot, you're substituting. Are they able to stay focused and make sure that, they're into the game? Because that'll be a big part of it, and I'm excited. I feel great about where we're at as a team. We've had a very physical training camp, and I'm excited to see how we respond when we take the field.
Let's talk some depth chart things. I know that's things that we always care about publicly, and you guys are still figuring out. But it is game week now. How much have position battles and who's going to see the field, who's going to make the bus, all sorted itself out in your guys' head as a coaching staff?
Yeah, each week that you have training camp, at the end of every week, typically you have either a scrimmage or some sort of a mock game, and you want to put guys in a position to see, okay, how do they respond when their number is called? Because you got to make some decisions, even early in camp. We're a week to 10 days into camp, and we put together our first training camp depth chart, especially for the young guys that came into the program. So, obviously we're here. Yes, we are, Monday here, and we've got an idea of who's going to be on the bus on Friday, but yet let's make no mistake, we still got 3 hard days of practice here on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then we'll make some final decisions for those guys that are perhaps right on the fringe there of are they or are they not on the bus.
Well, we did get one question before we started this, so we'll dive right into it because it connects. Rob Calhoun wanted to know, other than Justin Hall, which freshmen are going to make some impacts for you this year. So, number one, let's start with Justin Hall. Yeah. I would assume he's going to make an impact for you this year.
Well, he is. Justin's had a very good training camp. It's no secret that he's a playmaker. He's very good with the ball in his hands, a very confident guy. He has had a good training camp. You talk about running back. Everybody knows about James Gilbert, Malik Dunner. Those two guys have been, James obviously had a great year last year. Malik's role will continue to expand. But Caleb Huntley, true freshman running back, will be in that rotation. He'll play snaps for sure at Illinois. And
is he 36 because of the Bettis connection, by the way?
He is number 36. It worked out that way. I can't take credit for saying, hey, we put him in 36 because he is the bus or miniature bus, but that worked out that way. Aside from Justin, We've got some other receivers that will be in the mix. Khalil Newton has done a great job for us as a young player at receiver. Hassan Littles has done a good job for us as a wide receiver. And even, we talk about walk-ons that have made an impact in our program. Luke Ensley's done a very good job here in training camp and made some plays and turned some heads. So you'll see quite a few of those guys. We plan to play several guys at wide receiver because it's early in the season, conditioning, wanting to be fresh, and those guys deserved it because of their play on the field. Flipping over to the defense, obviously everybody, the strength of our defense has been the defensive line, and we'll continue to do that. Depth in the secondary was a concern last year. We got to the Miami game and had 3-4 defensive backs that were on that trip. So we've got freshman defensive backs. Brett Anderson and Bryce Cosby, both of those young guys have had very good training camps at safety. And then at the corner position, I think you'll see Antonio Phillips, you'll see Varenzo Holmes. Both of those guys will be on the field, not only on defense but on special teams here week number 1. And then we'll kind of, linebacker-wise, we'll have a couple young players in uniform, but we'll see, how much are they going to play, if at all, here against Illinois. But David Ruth has had a very good camp. Michael Robinson's had a very good camp here. So we'll see. There's still 3 practices here left. But we planned, I would say, there's going to be 9 or 10 freshmen that take the field for us here at Illinois.
Let me backtrack to the offensive side. You talk about a walk-on as a freshman, as a true freshman, coming in and turning some heads. Who is Luke Ensley and what does he do? He's a guy that comes, his high school coach is a Ball State alum, and Brian Kahn comes your way. And what triggered your interest in saying this guy's earned himself a spot on that bus?
Obviously the connection with Brian that you mentioned, Luke's father went to school here at Ball State, and he had kind of reached out. Obviously it was kind of later in the game here, and he was weighing his options. Where do I want to go? He kind of knew at that point, I'm going to have to go somewhere here, start out as a walk-on, hopefully make enough of an impression, earn a role for myself where it could eventually lead to a scholarship one day. So, Luke and his father came up and visited Ball State. I guess obviously his dad had been here, but Luke kind of had an opportunity to see it for the first time. And he came into camp, and I tell every one of our guys that when we start training camp, I don't care how you came into the program, whether you're a upper class scholarship player, whether you're a scholarship player coming into the program, or you're a walk-on, you're going to get plenty of opportunities to be evaluated and show that, hey, I can play a role. It doesn't matter how I start in the program. So I make sure and emphasize that to all of our players, just like the coaches do. And Luke, turned some heads. He just made plays when his number was called and took advantage of the opportunities that he had.
Other guys at receiver for you that are not newcomers, Jordan Hogue and Devin Reese have been around the block for a long time. What is it about them and their camps this year that has said to you they're primed for the success and the productivity that we've always known is in there, that necessarily hasn't always come out in terms of big numbers?
Well, let's start with Jordan. Jordan's he'll be a senior here, and he's a guy that we move around quite a bit on offense because of his intelligence, because he's able to handle many different positions. He's had a great training camp, been very consistent. He's healthy, which is great. And he's that guy though that we move all over the place. You mentioned Devin Reese. Devin's one of those guys that we've given him a lot of reps here. He's had a lot of opportunity. There's a void that's left when a guy like Kevon leaves your program and graduates. So Devin's going to have an opportunity here. He's got to step up and take advantage of the opportunities when he has them. And it's good to have a healthy Corey Lacanaria back. Corey's had a good camp here. He stayed healthy. And those three young guys, those three gentlemen that we've talked about, in addition to the freshmen, we feel like we've got some good depth here, and we can rotate guys, stay fresh, and be productive. And that's the name of the game here. We want to go in this first game, be successful, not only run the football, but when we have our opportunities in the passing game, we want to make sure guys step up and make some plays.
On the defensive side, we talked to young guys, and you talked about safety, and you talked about linebacker. But what's interesting at the linebacker spot is with the amount of linebackers that you brought in this freshman class, it's the upperclassmen that have kind of grabbed the bull by the horns at that position. How impressed have you been, and what have you been impressed about in terms of the way Jacob White and Damon Singleton and Jeremiah Jackson and Jalen Thomas have gone about their business and said, we're going to stave off this competition. We've been here, and we're ready for our spot in line.
That's the part that you hope for as a coach, just like the defensive coaches. But, as the head coach, you hope that that's what happens. You see these young guys getting all the headlines and all the hype. And so the guys that are in your program, like Jacob White, like Damon Singleton, like Jay Thomas, like Jeremiah Jackson, you want to see those guys say, oh, yeah, young buck, you're going to have to wait your turn here. And I appreciate every day just the way those guys prepare, the way they practice, how important it is to them to see a guy like Jacob White be voted as a captain by his teammates. I'm excited about the group. I know we lost 4 starters, or not 3 starters, but 4 that played a lot of football here at Ball State. So I'm excited about that position group and the battles that have taken place every day in camp. And I am proud of our upper class guys for saying, hey, man, you got to worry about me first. You're going to get around me. And they've made that very difficult here in camp.
Let's talk about Illinois a little bit. It's a team that I think in a lot of ways is in a very similar situation to you. Just when you read about them and the coverage that they're getting, it's so many young guys. There are a lot of guys that are going to play that haven't played yet. It's an interesting parallel. How much does that help or hurt in terms of preparation? Because they don't know what they're walking into with you guys, and you don't know what you're walking into with them. How much of a guessing game is it, and how do you put these puzzle pieces together?
Well, and you do. You focus on, especially when it's game number 1 like that, and both teams are in a similar type of situation with personnel, you focus on yourself. You focus on the things that you do well. You focus on the strength of your team, and you put your players in a position to do what they do best. Let's not go out week one and all of a sudden adjust something we're doing from a scheme standpoint because we think this might happen. We think Illinois might do this. Hey, we have some base principles that are in place offensively, defensively, things that we know we're going to run no matter what defense, no matter what offense that we see. Now we got to go out on the field and give our guys an opportunity to play with confidence, to play fast, and to play fundamentally sound in all phases, offense, defense, special teams. And that's what the focus has been on for us early in the season. Let's make sure our ball security is great. Let's make sure we eliminate pre-snap penalties. Let's make sure we're fundamentally sound and a good tackling team, have good eye discipline, good gap discipline. Those are things we can control. And we'll adjust if we need to during the course of the game if they present us something that we're totally caught off guard, which, obviously early in the season, when you have a whole off season to study and make adjustments, that scenario exists. But for the most part, everybody's going to be in that same mindset that let's focus on what we do well.
Quarterback runs, the run game for them was particularly strong as well last year. Concerns that raises for you in terms of how they could attack you?
Well, studying the tape, Chase Crouch is a young man that obviously can make some plays with his feet, and obviously he had some big gains on quarterback runs a year ago. So that goes back to making sure that our eye discipline is good, making sure we're gap sound. Everybody's got an assignment on the defensive side of the ball, so we got to be good with that. And you want to hit as much as you possibly can during training camp. But the one thing you always worry about when game number one happens, and it is live from start to finish, you want to make sure that you're a good tackling team. We're getting hats to the football and we're getting them on the ground. And so that'll be the big challenge for us really defensively, because not only the quarterback but the running back he's a tough tackle in the open field, and he runs hard, and they've got more than one back. So we got to be very sound that way.
They always say for lawyers, don't ask a question you don't know the answer to. And it's okay because I'm a journalist. So we'll see where this goes. What's your relationship with Lovie Smith? Did you guys play a lot or against each other at all in the NFL?
Yeah, obviously I know Lovie Smith probably more so than he knows Mike Neu. He was the head football coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when I was a quarterback coach for the Saints. We prepared for them twice a year in 2014, 2015. So obviously his teams were always well prepared, very fundamentally sound, great discipline. So they're going to be well coached as they were a year ago. They're going through some personnel turnover, just like any new coach that comes in. But I have a lot of respect for him. He will get Illinois turned around. They will be competitive. Let's just hope it doesn't quite happen week number one.
In week two, they'll be very competitive.
That's right. That's exactly right. But he does a great job with his football team, and it'll be a great challenge for us. I know that he's going to make sure whatever their hand they're dealt, whatever they have personnel wise, he'll make sure that his offense and his defense are going to fit his personnel accordingly.
Are there similarities to NFL style, what you might have seen when you played the Bucs or what he did in Chicago versus what he does now in Illinois? And can you relate to that in terms of making that adjustment from the pros to a college system?
Well, I think the things that you can lean on from my film study and having to prepare against him when I was with the Saints, obviously defensively, there's more similarities between what they do defensively at Illinois and similar to what they did defensively with the Tampa Bay Bucs. Now, offense is just played differently right now in college, so there's not as many similarities that way. His background, obviously, is as a defensive coach, so obviously we've watched everything we possibly can to try to give ourselves an edge and try to prepare the best we can. So, I've looked back at some old information that exists out there from my time with the Saints, and you can see some similarities.
Mike, appreciate the time. I know you've got a lot of prep still to do, so we'll let you get back to it.
All right, thank you.
That's head coach Mike Neu joining us here on Facebook Live. We'll be here every Monday morning at 11:45 to preview the week ahead and review the week behind. If you have questions, as always, you can comment during the video. You can comment ahead of time on the Facebook page, or you can tweet them at us as well, at Ball State Sports. In the meantime, practice tomorrow for these guys, so if you've got nothing to do in the morning, or if you want to skip out on work, they'll be out on the field in the AM Tuesday. Mike, we'll see you then.
All right, thank you, Joel.
See you guys.